Man, what's going on, everybody? So we'll go ahead and get into this. Um, got a live tonight regarding a very important topic in my eyes. I really feel like these types of things need to be brought to light because there can be something done about it. But I just feel there's not enough people talking about it or bringing light to the situation. Hillbilly, how you doing? Gar, salute. Jeff, how you doing, brother? So we're going to go ahead and get into it. We're going to be speaking about a man, David Funston, out of California. He is currently incarcerated. He was just recently seen by board and granted parole. This individual had multiple life sentences for 16 counts of lewd acts with a minor under the age of 14. And they granted him parole. And we're going to discuss why he's being granted parole, the law that provides that ability of him to be granted parole, and what other states abide by that law as well. And we'll get into it. Real quick, Ty, I see you, brother. My beautiful wife in the house, Leslie, Dangerous, Dusty. What's happening, brother? So we're going to start out with an article regarding this situation to kind of give you guys a little bit of a background, and then we'll go from there. Let me know if you guys can hear this when I play it.
Democrat stronghold California is looking to lead the way in releasing monsters from prison. This one is a doozy.
He was sentenced back in 1999 to 3 life in prison terms plus another 20 years for kidnapping and sexually assaulting 7 young kids, all of those kids under the age of 7.
Throw away the key, right? So fast.
California's elderly parole program allows inmates who are 50 or older and have served at least 20 years to be considered for release.
And who better than the guy convicted of the most heinous crimes imaginable?
This week, former Sacramento District Attorney Anne Marie Schubert learned that convicted sex offender David Funston was granted an early release by the parole board on Wednesday.
Needless to say, I was absolutely shocked and stunned that such a decision would be made. The judge essentially said, no amount of time is enough. You should never get out of prison. And so now he has this benefit that he can now get out of prison because our legislature decided that we should let people out early.
33-year-old Amelia was Funston's youngest victim. He used a Barbie doll to lure her away from her aunt's front yard and kidnap her.
Took her to his residence, committed crimes against her. She's 3.
I'm one of the lucky children that got away.
He's a monster. That's scary.
And the sheriff's office is fighting back, pulling no punches.
I'm pissed. It is not okay. Lure them with candy, Barbie dolls, toys, and abuse these kids horrifically. And when you go back and you read all of these reports, you're like, what the hell is going on here? He's an evil man. How are we letting him go? What are we coming to as a society here in California that it's okay with this, to let him out? Does anyone have an idea how many folks like David Funston have been released? Can somebody tell you that in California? We can't have this. It's got to change. It is mind-boggling that folks that purport to want to protect women and children and put their interests first don't do a damn thing. We are so far out of our zone for the rights of the perpetrator and not victims' rights. Compassionate release. Where's compassion for the victims?
I was a detective at that time when Funston had kidnapped the girl out of North Highlands. I see Mr. Funston is about to be released. I was outraged. And I'll be honest with you, I was hoping he had perished in prison a long time ago. I was surprised that he was still alive. And when I read that, I was so angry.
9 victims under the age of 7, and he does under 30 years. And now he's going to be on the streets in a neighborhood near you. That's horrific. It's because of the laws in California that we're dealing with this.
Either for victims or for the perpetrators, no in between.
So let me go ahead and bring up the law that is allowing this individual to be released. It's disgusting. I mean, there's no excuse. You have people that are in there doing life for way, way less than this. Some with no victims. Some victimless people are doing life for victimless crimes. There was no victim. But to let a man out, if you even want to call him a man, that has done heinous things like this to children. And this is why. Let me explain to you why. And there's only a few states that do this, but let me go ahead and bring this up. So this is actually Board of Parole Hearings, state of California. Oh, hold on. Let me see. How can I do this? Here we go. Is that it? Is that? I can't even tell. No, that's the wrong document. Hold on. Let me bring the other one up. Sorry about that. All right, so here we go. This is for Board of Parole Hearings, state of California, California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitations for information purposes. What is an elderly parole hearing? All parole consideration hearings held by Board of Parole Hearings are governed by Penal Code Section 3041. At a parole hearing, the board must consider all relevant and reliable evidence and determine whether releasing the person would pose an unreasonable risk of danger to society. I wonder. Okay, we'll get into that here in a second. We're going to go ahead and look up the recidivism rate on SOs, in particular, the ones that like to touch children. Let's continue. At elderly parole hearings, the same standard and procedures apply, but in addition, the board is required to give special consideration to whether age, time served, and diminished physical condition, if any, have reduced the elderly inmates' risk of violence. Okay, let me ask you a question. How much physical capability does it take to hurt a child? An innocent child? Doesn't take much. History of elderly parole program. On February 10th, 2014, the three-judge panel in the Plata Coleman versus Newsom class action lawsuit ordered Cdcr. Is that Newsom? Yep. So Newsom fought for this. The fucking governor of California fought for this. Lawsuits ordered Cdcr to finalize and implement a new parole process whereby inmates who are 60 years of age or older have served a minimum of 25 years of their sentence will be referred to the Board of Parole Hearings to determine suitability for parole. In response, the state implemented the Elderly Parole Program. In 2018, the California legislature enacted Assembly Bill AB 1448, which codified into law the elderly parole program by adding section 3055 to penal code. On January 1st, 2021, the California legislature enacted AB 3234, modifying penal code section 3055 to lower the age qualification for the statutory elderly parole program to individuals 50 years or older and have served 20 years or more of continuous incarceration. There are inclusions to this criteria, and those people disqualified under the statutory elderly parole program continue to receive elderly parole consideration under the criteria of the original court-ordered elderly parole program as set by the three-judge panel 60-year-old, 25 years of okay, so 60 years old and 25 years of continuous incarceration. The board implemented regulations for conducting elderly parole hearings. These regulations can be found in California Code of Regulations, Title 15, Division 2, Section 2449.40. Individuals who are eligible for elderly parole hearing. Statutory elderly parole program. Under the statutory elderly parole program, a qualified individual elderly parole eligibility date, EPRD, is calculated based on when they turn 50 years old and have served 20 years of continuous incarceration. The following individuals are excluded from the statutory elderly parole program. 1, those sentenced under California's strike law as second or third strike under Penal Code Section 667B 1111. So if they're a first or second striker, okay, well, they shouldn't be serving a life sentence if that's the case. 2, those sentenced to death. 3, those sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. So anybody that's at an LWOP. Those convicted of first-degree murder of a peace officer or former peace officer due to performance of their official duties. So hold on. You won't let somebody out that unalived a police officer, but you'll let somebody out that has multiple victims under the age of 9. Imagine that. Imagine that. Court-ordered elderly parole program. The court-ordered elderly parole program continues for those excluded from statutory elderly parole for a crime sentenced under California strike law as second or third under Penal Code Section, or a conviction of first-degree murder of a peace officer. These individuals were retained, so no sex offenses, no SOs are in this. So this is the law right here that allows these individuals to get out. Right here. Let's go ahead and pull up another video. I'm going to get in the chat for a minute, but there should nothing should be a higher priority than the safety of our children. Period. Like, protecting our children from these type of individuals should be priority number 1 all the time. Period. And I just don't understand how any politician or anybody that's supposed to be for the people can do anything other than protect the children. Let me go ahead and pull up this other video I have. And this isn't going to be a very long live because I want this to get out. I want people to see it. I just really wanted to bring this to everybody's attention because it's very,
I got a phone call
sick.
from retired sheriff sergeant who used to work.
So here we go.
Abuse.
This kind of breaks it down in detail here. They kind of explain everything in great detail. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this.
I got a phone call from a retired sheriff sergeant who used to work child abuse back in 1995 about this case, David Allen Funston. He helped investigate it. He was angry because he read he was being released. I had no idea about it, read the LA Times article, saw what they had spoken, and got the wheels rolling. So yesterday, they printed out probably thousands of pages, arrest reports on Mr. Funston and the cases he did. Back to 1995. He was out preying on children in the Sacramento area. We're talking children as young as 3 to the age of 7, molesting them. One young girl in North Highlands kidnapped her, molested her very viciously, drove her to Placerville, and kicked her out of the car after punching her. Think about that. He was caught eventually through the hard work of a sheriff's office, did a great job investigating it. Thousands of pages of interviews of children. And one thing about these kids, they were resilient. They did an amazing job IDing him. And back then, as a parent or anyone around kids, hey, don't take candy from strangers. Don't follow anyone. don't get in someone's car. This is what he did. Lured them with candy, Barbie dolls, toys, and abused these kids horrifically. Horrifically. He was given 3 consecutive terms, 20-year terms. He should have been in prison the rest of his life. Unfortunately, in 2020, a bill was passed that made folks eligible for parole as early as 50 years of age once they serve 20 years. So he qualifies. He's 64 years old. I'm 62. That is dead wrong. These children, he ruined their lives. And now he's eligible. And the damage he's...
You know, and that's the thing that I don't think people realize is the damage that is done to the victims. The long-term damage. Like, that is something that scars a victim for the rest of their life. You know, some people never come back after that. They turn to drugs and they turn to just numbing themselves and self-medicating and to drown out that pain. And some just, that's it. They give up on life because of that pain. The pain inflicted upon children by a fucking sick piece of shit like this. Oof.
Done. He stole their childhoods. And my issue is the parole board. I read the reports. They're horrific. You've seen some of the things he did. There's no explanation. You can't explain it away. There are some folks that deserve a second chance in life. Someone that does these type of things, they don't deserve a second chance in life. What are we coming to as a society here in California? That it's okay with this, to let him out. You think about some of the offenders that do the child abuse cases, child molest cases. Typically, they're older males. Now we're seeing a lot of folks in their 20s and 30s. So under the law, and we have folks in their 20s that have pending cases right now, they can be up by the time they're 50, having done 20 years. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Someone has to speak up about it, and we've got to change this. So he lured these kids, kidnapped the kids, kidnapped 2 sisters. He was convicted of 16 counts of kidnapping, child molestation with multiple young children. Remember, the youngest victim, 3 years of age. Sentenced over 20 years in prison, as well as 3 additional consecutive sentences. Consecutive, not concurrent, as they follow each other. A judge in Sacramento described him, and I'll say this, as the monster parents fear most. Yet today, the parole board decided he is suitable for release. We can't have this.
Look,
it's got to change.
Look at that fucking smile, man. Like, ugh. I'm getting nauseous just looking at it, man. It's fucking disgusting, man. I can't believe he sat there and smiled in his fucking mugshot. Ugh.
Change. And in California, it's battle after battle when it comes to our children. A few years ago, we're fighting human trafficking of a child. That wasn't a violent felony. Had to fight to get it passed. They got it passed. Now we're dealing with mental health aversion. You can kill your 1-year-old infant and get your record expunged and go work with other kids. What in the hell is going on in California? 100%. What is happening in our state? This cannot happen. It's not okay. The parole board, I keep going back to that, making those decisions. Does anyone have an idea how many folks like David Funston have been released? Can somebody tell you that in California? Right now, no. Especially folks convicted of child molestation. You don't rehabilitate individuals like that. They have an appetite for that. They want to do that. And that's troubling. Right now, our Child Abuse Bureau last year had over 1,200 cases. 1,200 cases here in Sacramento County involving individuals for child abuse, child molestation. It's hard to fathom that. And for some of you folks, you read some documents earlier that kind of shed a light on what he did. Because you could talk about it all day, but till you read it and see the victim's words, it really hits home. It really hits home. I've been doing this job for 33 years now, 34 years. I've served in the legislature. It is mind-boggling that folks that purport to want to protect women and children and put their interests first don't do a damn thing. There's a brand new children's caucus that was just formed. Looking out for children's rights. Where are you on mental health diversion? It's okay to beat your kid to death and get off on it? Where were some of these other individuals on human trafficking of a child? Is it okay to traffic a child that's 12 years old? The things he did to these kids cannot be undone, ever. It is not okay. Who stands up and supports that? We are so far out of our zone for the rights of the perpetrator and not victims' rights. It hasn't been about the victims for a long time. It's got to change. Victims come first, especially children. You don't get a second chance with children at all. And I'm pissed. It is not okay. It is not okay. Why are we dealing with this? It's a common sense thing. 99% of the voters support him being locked up forever. Lock him up, throw away the key. But in California, they want to let him out, and they let others out like him. That's the scary part. How many folks are running around? So he did it the old-fashioned way, candy, toys, get in my car, kidnapping them. With the internet now and the ICAC operations we do, you've seen.
Well, I'm looking at some numbers that I pulled up on recidivism for and I think it's giving me it does, the numbers don't add up to me. It just doesn't sound right. It's at like 35%. It goes, so the longer they've been offending, the higher the recidivism rate. So like 5 years, if they've been offending for like 5 years, they say it's a 35% recidivism rate. And then it goes to 10 years and it goes up to like 50 or something like that. And then at the highest, I think it's like 70, but I don't believe that. Like the recidivism rate in California is like way up there. So, I mean, how can that not be way up there? I don't believe it. Like those people reoffend all the time.
Where folks are on the phone enticing kids as young as 12 or 13 to come meet them at hotels. It's happened. They show up to have sex with young underage children. It goes on every day. We catch a small percentage of those offenders. So this is real stuff. It really hits home. If you have kids, grandkids, nieces and nephews, it should concern you. Elections are coming up. This is a great question. What do you stand for? Don't talk the talk, walk the walk. Protect our children. Don't protect the perpetrators of these crimes.
But what do they even do anymore? Like, seriously, like what does that even do anymore? Like, even going to the box. Like, what does it even do anymore, man? Like, seriously, I'm just being real. Like, I mean,
why are we protecting them? They should all be locked up, period. So we've got to change it. It just can't happen anymore. And like I said, hold people accountable, but we're always fighting again and again and again. You know, compassionate release. Where's compassion for the victims? There is zero compassion for the victims. They don't give a damn about the victims. They care about the suspects doing these horrific things. 3 years old. Has a 3-year-old testify and tell us what happens in that case? The 4-year-old, 7-year-old girl talking about it. 7 girls, 1 boy. You know what? They were amazing. They told great stories about what happened in detail. Described the doll he gave them, the candy, the car, what the bed in his apartment looked like, the sheets on his bed. Those kids were amazing, that young, to be able to reconcile what happened and remember the details. It breaks my heart to read these reports. We've got to stand up and fight for our kids. This is not okay. Next up is Detective, or actually Sergeant, retired Detective Rafael Rodriguez.
Good morning. I was asked to be here by the sheriff. I was a detective at that time when Funston had kidnapped the girl out of North Highlands. To put it in perspective, the same urgency that you see in the Nancy Guthrie case, the same urgency on everybody's face, that's how we felt that day. Now, yesterday I'm reading the news in bed and I see Mr. Funston is about to be released. I was outraged. right away. Me and Sheriff Cooper been friends for a long time. I called him and I told him we can't allow this. This is wrong. I was not the lead detective on the case. He has passed approximately 2 years ago. I was there when he was arrested, and I was present, and I interviewed his estranged wife. But the whole Bureau at that time was involved, and the whole Bureau, I'm sure like me, has never forgotten Funston's name. Whenever I would hear a case of an attempt kidnap anywhere in the state or country in the news, guess what? Funston's name's popped right back in my head. And I'll be honest with you, I was hoping he had perished in prison a long time ago. I was surprised that he was still alive. And when I read that, I was so angry that I cannot believe in this state we would allow that to happen. This isn't a possession case. We're not possessing drugs. We're not doing things like that. This is a serious case. Like the sheriff mentioned, the victims here, they got a life sentence. Okay? A life sentence. Funston's out. Wherever he's going to be released to, better watch him. I was just outraged. I had to call the boss and explain it. He asked me to come down, and I wanted you guys to know firsthand, for someone who'd been there, the urgency, the worry, everything. Even personally after that, watching my kids, I have grandkids now, paranoid, telling my daughter, keep an eye on them, watch them there. That's how we live. That's how I live. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Under Sheriff Mike Ziegler. Let me put a little perspective on Mr. Funston, his sentence. I'll use a judge's word, though. I won't use his name, this monster. He was sentenced to almost or a little over 90 years. He's done less than a third of that, and he's going to be on the streets. 9 victims under the age of 7, and he does under 30 years. And now he's going to be on the streets in a neighborhood near you. That's horrific. Some of the stats that we have with our department alone, we have 1,200 child abuse cases. Here's the stats with the elderly. Here's how that can affect the elderly parole law. 60% of those active child abuse cases, the suspects are under 40 years old, with a third of them under 30 years old. 1/3 of our current child abuse suspects will be eligible for parole as soon as they turn 50. And they're not this monster, but some of them are. As soon as they turn 50.
Well, some is too fucking many. Like, point blank and simple, some is too many. It don't matter. Like, some is too many. Because how many of those some are going to reoffend and go out there and touch kids again? And how many of those kids are going to be affected for the rest of their fucking life and scarred for the rest of their fucking life because of some weirdo like this creep?
A third of them will be eligible for parole, and 28% of them will be eligible parole after they turn 50, between 50 and 60. That's the problem with the law. That's what we're facing in law enforcement. So we talk about second chances a lot, right? And our department, the sheriff, believes in second chances for people. There are certain crimes.
Well, I can think of a lot of motherfuckers that deserve a second chance way before this scumbag and anyone like them. So let's fucking talk to whoever we got to talk to in Sacramento and Newsom and all these motherfucking piece of shit motherfuckers and get it happening. Because weirdos like this don't belong on the streets.
That can't be rehabilitated, and this is absolutely one of them. This was a discussion that we had at the legislature for 8 years. This is a crime that we see, that Ralph saw, that our child abuse detectives see on a daily basis. These monsters cannot be rehabilitated. That's gonna upset a lot of people, but they cannot be rehabilitated. I'll give you an example of one here.
It's about time. It is about time a law enforcement officer in California came out and said this. It is about time that a law enforcement officer in California came out and said this. Like straight up.
It happened in Sacramento years ago. Kenneth Parnell. He was a 41-year-old man.
California.
The victims.
Mike, it's California. Red Rum, what's going on? I'm watching channels or put on TV on his phone. Thank you for the content you do. He loved your content. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. And he's missed.
Name out of it, although you probably know it. They actually made a movie about this. He kidnapped this young man, kept him in captivity in a cage for 8 years. And during that time, he molested him, kept him in a cage. And during that time, he also kidnapped another, about 7 years later, he kidnapped another kid. And they were brave enough to put together a plan and escape. Never caught Kenneth Parnell at that point. Years later, remember, he kidnapped somebody when he was 41, held him in captivity, another one when he was 49, 71 years old, dying of diabetes, emphysema. He paid a lady to bring a 4-year-old over to his house so he can molest that 4-year-old at 71 years old. These are the monsters right here that we're dealing with. And it's because of the laws in California that we're dealing with this. Thanks.
Now we'll go ahead and bring up Amelia.
Okay. Hello, my name is Amelia. I'm a victim of David Allen Fenton. The reason I am here today is to speak on the behalf of myself and the other victims of this monster who may not be able to speak. I feel he is a very horrible person who has done horrific acts and he does not deserve freedom. Why I say this is this man has took innocence from myself and others. He has done shameful things under the eyes of God, and I feel his years in prison he has done is not enough. I stood in front of this man in court as a child in elementary, and I will stand again to have him put down where he needs to be. He does not deserve freedom. He needs to be back. He does not need to be back in public society. He is a criminal, child molester, dangerous, and deserves to spend the rest of his life behind bars. As a young Native American woman, I am proud to say that the Creator kept me here to keep fighting for what is right. So yes, I feel strongly that man, David Allen Fenton, needs to see out his punishment and does not deserve his freedom. And that's how I feel. Welcome.
She was 3 years old when it happened. 3 years old. My grandson's 3.5. That is not okay. We've got to change it. It has to change. It is not okay, but it's a battle every damn year, battling these stupid laws that come on the books.
A fucking 3-year-old, man. A fucking 3-year-old. A fucking 3-year-old.
There's a law, actually a bill this year, to change it to turn it back to 60 for sex offenders. Got killed in the probes. They're killing bills over and over and over again. And like I said, having spent 8 years in the legislature and being back in law enforcement now, they're impacting us. It is not okay with what's being done, period. And it's either on one page or the other, either for victims or for the perpetrators. There's no in between. There's no in between, period. So we've got to get priorities right. It's got to change. It's got to change. Right now it's election season, so make sure your vote counts. Any questions?
What can community members do at this time to show that they're against him being released? Can they write letters to that board that you speak of? Can they, how can they be supportive of this?
The Board of Prison Terms, unelected officials. These are just citizens that are making this decision. They're not elected. They don't represent anybody. And like I said, when you go back and you read all of these reports, you're like, what the hell is going on here? He's an evil man. How are we letting him go? I've read all these. This is mind-boggling. I mean, we shouldn't even be having this discussion. We should not be here. The victim should not be here. But, my hat off to Amelia from the courage back then as a 3-year-old to help put this animal in prison. And here again, once again, that's traumatic, but it's important. If someone doesn't speak up, this stuff continues to go on and on and on again. And if it pisses people off at the legislature or makes people feel uncomfortable at the Capitol, I don't care. That's your job. Defend these children. Quit talking. Talk is cheap.
He's free now.
Pardon?
He's free now. What are the conditions of that release? And is there the possibility that he comes back to Sacramento County?
He could. He very well could. We have no idea. They hold things so close and so tight. That's the issue with it. And it's done. I'll let Mike talk about it.
Yeah, actually, when they release a sexual violent predator back into the community, the standard is sending them back into the community of domicile. That means the likelihood of him coming back to Sacramento is very high.
So was that upheld, that decision to grant him parole was made in September of last year, and it was upheld last Wednesday?
Correct.
And then it goes through the SVP process where there will be public hearings and all of that. Will that happen here?
It's the state. Who knows?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
So in the sexual violent predator program, there's an advocate group, a victims' right advocate group right now that just wrote a letter to the Board of Prison Hearings, having to request that hearing. Sexually, they weren't going to give him one. So they're demanding that he stand before a psychiatrist to see if he's fit to be released. So who knows if that happens, right?
So what I would do if I were you, I would get a hold of the parole board and ask them how many folks have been granted the early release and how many were sexual predators or had a conviction for sexual assaults. Do they know that? Can they tell you that? It shouldn't be hidden. It should be open. They always talk about transparency. Make it transparent. Tell us who you're releasing, what they're doing. And you figure once you're on, you're off after 3 years of parole and you're dismissed. They don't follow you or track you. So that's the way the system works. I know the system very well, how it works. So it's a lot of it is just smoke and mirrors of some of the things they do. Any other questions? All right. Thank you all. I appreciate you coming. Amelia, thank you.
I wish when I would have first went in, I would have been around people like Brant and Ronnie, to be honest with you. They know how to school a motherfucker right, man. Just saying. I want to pull this up. So this is the other document I found regarding this. So here we go. Elderly parole eligible date EPD determinations. Barclays official California Code of Regulations. So this is out of Barclays. Subsection 3499.1 elderly parole eligible date EPD determinations. An elderly parole eligible date EPD means the date on which an incarcerated person who qualifies as an elderly offender is eligible for release from prison. B, the department's case record staff shall determine whether the incarcerated person qualifies as an elderly incarcerated person as defined in section 3499 for the purposes of calculating EPD. So they must calculate this when they're in reception, possibly. I don't know. They may calculate this date while they're in reception. You get what I'm saying? So like they can determine when, like, I don't know. I don't know when they calculate this date, like when it's done. And D, an EPD is the date an incarcerated person who meets the criteria to qualify as an elderly incarcerated person for the statutory elderly parole program reaches 50 years of age and has served 20 years of continuous incarceration. My question is where is the eligibility requirements? So this was in the same document we read earlier. Let me see if I can find them. All right, let's see. Early parole hearings, board of parole. We already information about the early parole fact sheet, board of parole hearings, early parole program, early parole hearings, information about the early requirements. Early parole requirements. Let's see. All right, so here we go. So this is who is eligible for the elderly parole program. California's elderly parole program is only for a specific subset of inmates. Additionally, there are some crimes or convictions that would make your loved one ineligible for the program. To start, a prisoner eligible for the elderly parole program must be at least 50 years of age, have served at least 20 years in prison on their current sentence without interruption, and be eligible for parole, such as through good behavior. If any of the following applies to your loved one, they would not be eligible under this particular program. Are serving under a California 3 strikes conviction, are serving a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole, are on death row, were convicted of killing a peace officer. Those are the only disqualifiers. That's it. That's all that it takes right there. That's it. Those are the only disqualifiers. So, rapists, Mo's, PDF files, all that stuff is a go under this program. None of those are disqualifiers. Can you fucking believe that? Can you fucking believe that? I mean, I can. It's California. But let's see how many other states release SOs under elderly release program. Let's see. What All right, let's see. Okay. Nothing's coming back on that. What the hell? See on this one. Interesting. Sorry, we did not find any results for what states release SOs, and I spelt it out in full, under the elderly release program. Imagine that. Here, let me bring it up for you. Let me bring it up for you guys so you can see. Imagine that. Imagine that. Right here. Sorry, we did not find any results for what states release SOs, and I spelt it out in full, under the elderly release program. Imagine that. Imagine that. Of course it's not there. Of course you don't want us to have that. Of course not. Vegas, we've been covering this this SO that's being released out of California. He was approved by the parole board under the elderly parole program. So in California, they have I'm sure they have it in Vegas too. It's called the elderly parole program. They have to be 50 years or older, and they have to have up to 20 years of consecutive time in prison. In California, the only disqualifiers are you're sentenced under the 3 strikes law, you have an LWOP, or you're in there for taking the life of a law enforcement officer. Those are the only disqualifiers for somebody being released under the elderly parole program in California. So we went through all of it. I played some videos regarding it, some news articles. I edited everything so I could monetize the live. And insane, bro. This dude has literally gotten granted parole, and he has, I think it was 9 counts of under the age of 9 years old, one of them being 3 years old, bro. And this dude is getting out. When we got people like Two Scoops who didn't even hurt anybody. Been in there all these years. Let the man home already. But you're going to let some weirdo like this out? The fuck out of here, man. Well, that's good, bro. See, that's good. See, and there's only and right now I heard there's only a few states that do this, that allow them to release those type of individuals under that law. I Googled it right now, and it said that information could not be found. Imagine that. Imagine that. They don't want us to have that information, bro. But yeah, man, I'm getting ready to end it, brother. But I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. You know, if you're in California, or if you might want to look into the state you're in and find out, you know, if they have an elderly parole program, and if they do, what type of inmates do they release under that program? Are disqualifiers? What are the disqualifiers for those types of inmates? You know, and if you can, you know, try to figure out how to vote against that type of type of stuff, please do so. Like, if you live in California, please, when it comes time to vote, try to get this stuff off of here. Like, there's no reason why somebody with those types of crimes should be let out like that. I don't care. I do not care. That should not be happening, period. I do not care. Yeah, exactly, Douglas. I mean, I hate to go there, but unfortunately, that's what's happened there, you know. They've been overran by, people that just don't care. You know, Solid Behind Blue Eyes, I'll have to look into that. And find out It might already be something that's out there already. I don't know. I'll have to look into that and find out. If I can find that out, maybe I'll do a part 2 on this. I used to live in Ventura. My son is from Ventura. Yeah, that's where he was born at, is Ventura. Oh yeah, Soy Tu Padre, man. Kane, man. Big time, bro. Big time. Like, that whole situation was insane, bro. Hey, it's good to see you, Soy Tu Padre. I hope you're doing well, brother. Hope you're doing well, brother. Yeah, you know, so this type of stuff, people need to come together on, man. We need to unite. It don't matter what side of the aisle you're on, what color, none of that matters, man. When it comes to our children, that's it. All bets are off, man. And it's time to unite and figure out how we can put a stop to this type of stuff. And I'm talking the legal way, and make it to where they can't release these type of people into society no more, man. Listen, you know, I come from an environment where I was a victim of that, and those people don't change, man. That's just facts, man. Very seldom do those people change, and it's just a matter of time until they find an opportunity. And they're opportunists. That's what they are. They're fucking opportunists. And it's just a matter of time before they find that opportunity to where they can do something to a child, and believe that if they feel they can do it and get away with it, they're going to take it. And that's disgusting. And the fact remains is most of them will not change. They just wait for that opportunity again. That's just facts, man. Yeah, we'll definitely look further into it. Solid Behind Blue Eyes, and we'll definitely do a part 2. We'll find out if there's a current statue going up, and see if we can go ahead and, you know, try to push that for signatures, or you know, definitely try to figure out a way to get one up. But I'm gonna go ahead and close it out, guys. I got to get up early for work in the morning. I'm dead tired. I've been going all day, but I really wanted to do this live. It was pulling at my heartstrings. It was bothering me. The fact that they're letting this guy out just eats at me, man. It just eats at me. And I had no idea about this program, the elderly release program, and it was thanks to Mrs. Solid Behind Blue Eyes that put a post up that brought my attention to it. So thank you for that. And yeah, we'll definitely do a part 2 and try to figure out what we can do on our end, whatever that may be. But I hope you guys have a blessed night. And until next time, family,